Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flatwood Works.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast that talks about everything from Jesus to joinery and a little bit of everything for sure. So, Tom, I am excited for tomorrow. No, wait, what's today? Monday, Wednesday. So I have off Wednesday for Juneteenth. It's a federal holiday. So any federal holidays, my father-in-law says that if the flag flies, I get the day off. But I've got a guy I work with. We've become pretty good buddies. He is an avid shooter, loves guns. I mean, he's probably got more guns than half the state of Colorado. I swear, the guy's got hundreds of guns. And so he's bringing over a whole truckload of guns Wednesday, and we're going to do some shooting. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's all on his dime. Like I said, man, you want me to give you some money for lead? You know, and he, nah, man, anytime I get an opportunity to shoot, if you're providing the land, it's on me. I'm like, all right.
I'll be like, come over anytime.
Right. So looking forward to that. And he's funny. He likes to do theme shoots. And so like he'll bring a certain category of guns. And so Wednesday's shoot is going to be suppressed guns. So he's bringing all of his suppressed guns. So rifles, handguns, everything that he has that's suppressed, and we'll shoot that. And then he says, yeah, we'll do another one. We'll do all like World War II era. We'll do one that's, you know, he's got all this stuff. And so, yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be hot. That's what we're going to do it in the morning. It's about 9:30. We'll let everybody wake up around. And
yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. How are you doing?
I am worn out, but I had an amazing day today. Last week was just work. But today I took the day off, and my men's group, we all went fly fishing up on the mesa, went deep back into the mesa. So the mesa has about 300 lakes on top of it. It's the world's largest flat top mountain. And so once you get up there, there are lakes everywhere. We went way back into the mesa, and we're blessed that one of our brothers hired a bunch of guides to bring out boats. And so there were two of us in each boat with a guide, and I'm brand new at this. So to have not only the guide, but then another very experienced fly fisherman in the boat, both of them giving me tips. And so I caught 5 fish today. For me, you know, I realized for the avid angler, that's nothing. But for me, that was pretty good, considering I'm still learning how to fly cast, because it is quite challenging. I had only ever, done regular bait casters, but man, we had a great day, and grilled out up there on the mesa and fished, and just hung out with my brothers. So, but I'm worn out. It was quite the day. So
we used to, when growing up, we would go fishing, but we would do something a little bit different. We would go to farms, and we would fish the ponds on the farms. We'd knock on the door and ask the landowner, like, hey, do you care if we fish your pond? And most of them, the only stipulation is you can't keep them because, they stock those and stuff. But they said you have to debarb your hook because we don't want, hurting the fish or anything. But I tell you what, I've caught some of the biggest bass, largemouth bass from farm ponds. A buddy of mine snapped an ugly stick in half trying to reel a bass in, and it ended up pulling the bass in by his hands with the string. I mean, I've seen bass you can fit both your hands in that are, just crazy big, and they're just, because there's no predators, they're just these big ponds and these farms that cows drink out of. And so that's my extent of fishing. We used to do that growing up, but I haven't done fishing. Might try to see if Eli wants to do it at some point when he gets a little bit older, or even now. I mean, he's at the age he'd probably enjoy it, but that's awesome, man. That's exhausting though, being out on a boat in the sun. I mean, that's
You could probably tell my face a little pink. I put sunscreen on, but you get that reflection off the water, and but man, it was a blast, absolute
absolutely.
blast. So
That's awesome, man. Cool. Well, I'll report next week on the podcast on my time of shooting guns. It should be pretty fun. So, but man, before we get into our guest today, I'm really excited about this. I just want to plug our podcast, and what I mean by that is, we love this podcast, and we have people that support the podcast, and we really appreciate all those that support the podcast, and just want to say thank you. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so on patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. You can also support us by giving us a 5-star review on Apple and praying for the podcast. As you'll hear in this episode, we love to hear the testimony of fellow believers and how they got to know the Lord. And that's what this podcast is about. And so thank you, all you guys that support our podcast. But Tom, who do we have on the podcast today?
And I'm going to tell you, the funny thing is we booked Andrew before we went to Workbench Con. So we already had him scheduled for today before we went. And then we had the pleasure of really, him and Cody were two of the people that we hung out with the most, and got to just hang out, go break bread a bunch. And man, I have been looking forward to this. So Andrew is officially our youngest guest so far. And but hanging out with him at Workbench Con, you didn't know you were hanging out with a teenager. You're like, there's this just insanely mature young dude that loves the Lord, loves woodworking, makes amazing things in the shop. And so I've been very excited about having him on. So without further ado, Mr. Andrew. And Andrew, if I mess up your last name, is it Boggess? Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, I got it right. All right. But Andrew's Woodworking, man. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so my name's Andrew Boggess. I'm from Northwest Arkansas. I'm 18 years old. And so I've been doing woodworking for about 5 years now. And got 3 siblings, an older sister and a younger sister and a younger brother. And then, so I'm still living at my parents' house. Probably the first one on the podcast to be saying, like, I'm doing it down in my parents' basement pretty much.
Hey man, you got that. That's awesome though, to be able to start so young and learn your skills and build up some tools while you're still at home going through school and everything. And so the funny thing is, our last guest was also from Northwest Arkansas, and he knows you, Austin from Heritage Woodwork. And he said you come over to his shop every now and then.
Yep. Yeah. So I've gone over there a couple times. He's given me some scrap wood and stuff that I've played around with, kind of learned off that. He's been really helpful and giving me some good insight.
Man, that's awesome. And when I scheduled the two of you, I had no idea that y'all knew each other. That was just pure coincidence that happened. And but we were talking to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know him. He's been over my shop." So very cool, man. Well, so tell us about your faith journey. Obviously, the name of the podcast is Faith Talks Wood, and our primary source reason for having this is to hear people's testimony. So tell us about your upbringing and how you came to know Jesus all the way up through now.
Yeah, so I've grown up and I'm growing up in a Christian home. I've been going to church my entire life. And then I've also been going to summer camps and stuff pretty much my entire life again. My uncle has a summer camp just like 30 minutes from my house. So I've been going to that ever since I was born. My parents have been helping out with that. So I've heard about God and everything growing up and all that. But it wasn't until about 2-3 years ago I asked him into my life. But even then I was still kind of like struggling, going back and forth. And then just like kind of read my Bible here and there, and then kind of like read it a whole lot, and then fall back, and then just kind of keep looping. It hasn't been till just recently, within like the last like 6 months, year, that I've really gotten to know him a lot better. Started going to a youth group and really learned quite a bit from there. And it's been really helpful. And then just talking with other people Started like trying to read my Bible more. Got the Bible app on my phone to where it'll send me a verse every day. So that's really helpful. Help keep me in his word and everything. And then like just meeting other woodworkers like you guys that are also Christians, really helpful, especially at Workbench Con. That was really great for me. And I feel like God put you guys there to kind of help me. And so that was really great. And yeah, just really cool the stuff he's done in my life. So about 2 years ago now, I was looking for a summer job, and I found a local furniture maker that's getting pretty big, and was applying for there, and I was praying about it and everything. And yeah, but then while I was looking at that job, I was only like 16. And so I was really young, and they were going to hire me, but as like a pallet builder. And so I'd just be building pallets all day in a warehouse that was not air conditioned. So I really wasn't wanting to do that because I was wanting to do a lot more woodworking. So I was just praying about for God to like help me find another place because I was needing a summer job so I could do something. And so at that same time, I found a local sawmill and went over. Actually, I was listening to Matt from 731 Woodworks. Yep. He's probably my favorite YouTuber. He's also a Christian, which is really cool. And I like hearing about him talking about the Lord. And then also, I like all his shirts. I need to get some that all have like Bible verses and stuff like that on there. And he actually came out and did a tour at the sawmill, which I thought was just like the coolest thing ever. And so I went down there at one point, introduced myself to the owner and everything. And then the next day, sent him a text message. And I was like, hey, you want to hire me? And at that time, he had someone else working for him, but they weren't quite working out. And I was basically about to accept the job at that furniture company, which I really wasn't going to do. And so I was just like kept praying. And at the same time, I was actually going to my uncle's summer camp because it was that week. And I was on my way home from the end of the summer camp, and I got a message, and he was like, hey, could you start Tuesday? And that just like really blew my mind. I was like, wow, like literally the day before, like the evening before, I was about to accept the job offer at the place I didn't really want to work at. He sent me this message. And so I've been working there ever since. And so it's really cool just like looking back, especially now, about how God's worked in my life and everything. And just seeing like the way he has brought me into woodworking. Never thought I would have done, gotten as far as I have. If it wouldn't have been for God, I would not be anywhere near where I'm at today. I would still be just taking my little wood burning pen and just drawing on scrap pieces of wood or using a chisel and some scrap wood.
I think that's very powerful, though, what you just said. And one thing that I don't hear young people talking about as much, but you said, I kept praying. And persistent prayer, God tells us to bring our requests to him. And doing that at such a young age, I really commend you. And so I hope that you, as you go on throughout your life, that you remember this, that as you just kept going to God and going to God and going to God, he heard you and he provided the way in his timing. And his timing sometimes isn't quite as quick as what I like it to be. I'm a pretty impatient person, but his timing is always perfect. And so, man, that's awesome stuff.
Yeah. When I was 18, I could barely tie my shoes, man. So I'm proud of you for for your wisdom and your discernment for his spirit, right? I mean, knowing, the Bible says, if we're in his will when we ask, that's the important thing, that he will grant us that stuff. But asking for something that's arbitrary and asking, Lord, I don't think this job is a good fit for me. I really don't feel like it would be edifying to you for me to work there. Please open up another opportunity. And he did, because you were in his will when you were asking. And so that's awesome, man. I love hearing that. And it just goes to show how great our God is, right? It's sometimes the little things, and a lot of times we don't recognize it until after the fact, right? We've done past this, and then you look back and you're like, oh wow, yeah, that was God. Why did I not recognize it in the time, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's
always like
good.
the coolest feeling. Like you all of a sudden just remember, it's like, well, how did that happen? And you think, well, wait, God did that. It's like, it's nothing I did. It's what God did.
Yep.
And that's just like one of the coolest feelings ever.
Yeah. One of my favorite verses is, he says, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways. And we just can't see what he can see from up there. And it's always, I like the analogy of the bird's eye view. Like if you could go up in the sky and look down and see everything that's going on, we could avoid accidents. We could avoid all kind of stuff. But God can see it all. And he sees so much further down the road. And it's not until, like you said, Will, until after we've gone through it that we can look back and say, now I understand why you did that and why you did that has brought me here to this day. And so I'm very interested to know how the saw. So were you already doing woodworking before going to the sawmill, or were you just dabbling in it, or what skill sets has the sawmill job played in where you're at today? Because I watch your stuff on Instagram, and dude, you make some amazing like epoxy and wood pins and all kind of stuff. And when I think of a sawmill, I just think of rough cutting lumber down. But so tell us about that a little.
Yeah. So before I started working at the sawmill and everything, the summer before that, I was working for another local woodworker, and I was pretty much sanding, and that was like my job. Just go there, sand, maybe cut some wood, and every once in a while I go oil some pieces. So that really kind of got me to like see like the potential of what I could do. If you want, I can like start like how I kind of got into woodworking. If you want,
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. So about 5-6 years ago, so that would have made me like 12, 13-ish. I had money burning a hole in my pocket, got $10. And like any young person, you want to spend it. And it still happens to this day. But I was walking through Walmart, and I saw this $10 wood burner. And a wood burner is pretty much just like a pen that heats up. And at the time, I was also doing martial arts. And so we would do board breaking, and you got to keep them. So I had a whole pile of boards just in my bedroom. So I just started wood burning, like simple pictures of animals and stuff on there, and then selling those at like my homeschool group's entrepreneur fair. So I grew up homeschooled my entire life. So we were also part of a homeschool group, and every year they would do an entrepreneur fair. And so I would always go to that with my wood burnings and just go there and then sell stuff, get some custom orders, and just slowly started progressing my way up. For my birthday, I got a little bit nicer of a wood burner, so I started doing some nicer pictures. And then a friend moved from Colorado to Arkansas, and he joined our homeschool group. And so I met him through that, and then he also does woodworking and stuff. And he did more like cutting boards and stuff, which I thought was super cool. And so he kind of taught me how to do some of that. And then I started working for that guy, learned how to do some cutting boards and stuff. But then the next year he didn't need me. And so that's when I was looking for the job and was looking at that furniture company, but then also the sawmill. So I got hired onto the sawmill. And so basically what I started off doing was just surfacing wood flat on a big surfacing machine, moving wood chopping it up into like some charcuterie board kits. And that was about the extent of it. And then they slowly started having me like learn how to make the epoxy serving trays and stuff like that. And then a year ago now, we started doing epoxy classes at the sawmill. And so they started having me teach the classes and everything. And so I was like this 17-year-old just teaching epoxy classes to people who are like in like their 60s and like 50s and like all the way from like, I think the youngest we've had is like 6 years old all the way up. And so I kind of got thrown into that and then also learned how to do the epoxy tables and stuff. And then about a year and a half ago, I made my family a dining room table. It's about 6.5 foot long, out of walnut, and it has some epoxy in it. And that was like the biggest personal project I've ever done, even to this date. And that was a really big project for me to do by myself and everything. But it's very rewarding being able to sit down at a table that I made and everything like that. And so just slowly started incorporating stuff from my work into my own business. And I'm still doing that to this day. And then like you were saying about the pens and stuff I make, I actually went to a local community college. They were having a turning class for pens. So I took that and I did one pen and immediately fell in love with the lathe. And so just started getting into that and just started building up some money and then just buying more stuff and then just slowly progressing. Watch a few YouTube videos. I've gotten to the point where I'm so busy I can't even watch YouTube videos now. I'm just having people teach me. But yeah.
You know, that's very interesting that God put you in that job that then also lets you learn epoxy that then adds into it. It's, you do a lot of epoxy now. Like when I see all your pens and everything that you do. So that's really interesting how you're praying for a job, but back then you could not see epoxy, but God could. And so he put you in a place where you could grow into what you are today. That's just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Now, have you always been pretty artsy? Like you said, like doing, wood burning and doing drawings and stuff. Have you always been a natural kind of artist, being able to draw and stuff?
No. So, what I would do for like drawing and stuff like that, for the pictures, is I'd print out the picture online, and then I would take and use pencil and trace it, and then I would flip over the piece of paper and trace it again to where the lead from the pencil would transfer onto the wood. And then later on, I got it's called transfer paper, and it's basically got like lead on it. Put the picture top, trace it. Finally got that. But before that, I was just doing it all by hand, like tracing out the picture and everything that was printed off. Words were the hardest thing to do because you had to trace it, flip it over, trace it again, and then flip it over again to where it would all be, it wouldn't be backwards. Found that out very quickly. But yeah, that was very
That's
interesting
cool.
to learn.
Yeah. Now, what kind of martial arts did you take? You still in martial arts?
I don't do martial arts anymore. I stopped around COVID, like after COVID started, because they were doing it online. And I did it with my dad and my two younger siblings. So trying to do it in a small room, 4 people, 1 monitor is not very easy. But I did like mixed martial arts and a bit of taekwondo.
Yeah, awesome.
I got all the way to advanced red belt, which was 1 belt away from black belt.
Ah, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That explains some of the maturity, I think. I mean, martial arts takes a lot of focus and attention, and that's awesome. I love hearing that. My sister, the black belt kickboxer, and then I took it was like a form of kung fu, actually, when I was a little bit younger than you. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So with your pens, so are you like selling the pens? Do you have like online shop or Etsy or something, or?
So I don't currently have an online shop. I pretty much just sell my stuff through Instagram and Facebook. Not even Facebook Marketplace. I've tried posting stuff on there, just it won't sell.
It's garbage. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace is garbage.
Yeah. But yeah, so just people contacting me, friends and family, and then friends telling other friends about it. That's one of the main ways. And then just this year, I started getting into farmers markets, which has been the thing that I've been wanting to get into ever since I started, just never had the opportunity. And so now the guy I used to work for doing woodworking originally, I actually sell with him at the farmers markets and stuff. So he'll set up at one location and then I'll set up at another location.
That's awesome. My wife does craft fairs and stuff like that. And if you have the right thing, like not a lot of people are turning pens. So you could probably do pretty well with those.
Yeah, pens are one of my best selling smaller items. I go through quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
What's interesting is my more expensive pens sell a lot faster than my cheaper pens, which is really weird, but it's nice because then I can work with nicer woods and stuff like that.
You know, my wife does stained glass. So she's a stained glass artist. And what we found, it never fails. She always sells more of the more expensive stuff. She'll sell smalls, but like she sold a $150 mirror that she made at her last craft fair. And then, you know, that's kind of a bulk of what she would made, and then a bunch of smalls, but like people will pay for quality stuff. I mean, I'm that kind of person. I'm a buy once, cry once. And so I'd rather pay once and, you know, spend more money to have a good quality product. And so it makes sense. That's pretty cool. What's a higher quality pen cost? What do you charge for one?
So I charge anywhere between like $25 to $40 for like a regular slimline pen. Which there's a whole bunch of different pen kits and stuff out there. Basically the pen kit is just like the mechanism and all that, and then the metal pieces, and then it comes with brass tubes, and then that's what you drill a hole in the wood, glue the brass tube in there, and that's what you turn to size. I have two that are a bit nicer. One's called a bolt action pen.
Yep.
Got that one. I think I have it like $75. And there's another one, I think it's like a Gatsby pen or something like that. For like $50. But
yeah, awesome.
And then just like different woods and stuff like that. I actually have like 3 slimline pens that I'm going to try to sell for $250 a piece. Because I'm using desert ironwood from California, and the stuff's like 1,000 years old, super dense. It's the densest wood I've ever used. It'll dull my carbide tips like crazy.
I've heard of that stuff.
So quickly. And then I stopped turning it recently because it's expensive. It goes for like $100 a board foot. And it just, since it's so dense, the dust is so fine that even with my mask and stuff on, it's still getting through, and I'll just feel sick the next day. And I'm like, yeah, that's about enough.
Yeah. Those exotic woods and stuff that dust is really dangerous. Have you ever turned with Osage orange?
I haven't yet. I actually got a piece
okay,
somewhere around here that I just got recently.
It'll be similar to that desert ironwood. It's extremely hard. I made a boot jack out of some Osage orange, and you'd have thought I was cutting steel on my bandsaw. I mean, it was like just harder than a rock, but that's awesome. Yeah, that no joke messing with that exotic stuff. Even walnut. I've found sand and walnut if I'm not wearing a mask, or if I'm, so every once in a while, like, man, I need to sand this. I won't put a mask on because it's like a 5-second thing, but that walnut dust will still sit, and it's not good for you at all. That's. So you're in your shop. Is your shop like garage, basement? Where are you at?
So it's kind of like a little dugout part underneath the house. So there's the crawl space, and then the people that owned it before us dug out this little area. It looks a lot bigger on camera and everything like that. But it's really small. But I work around it, and it's underneath the house and everything. I have to go outside and around to get to it. But for a lot of the like table saw and stuff like that, I'll pull outside. to cut stuff, do all my sanding outside. Unless if I hook up my shop vac with tape and stuff to my sander. Found that works really well until you get to like 320. And then it's just too fine.
Yeah,
So
it's too fine.
how big is that space? Because I've seen in your reels. So tell everybody how little your space is.
I really don't know. I haven't actually measured it.
Oh.
I need to. I'll do that after we finish. Like I'll measure it and everything and then let you guys know. But yeah, I'm not really sure how big it is. I just know it's small.
Yeah. But you've got it packed full in there, and I'm telling you what, it's amazing all the stuff that you make out of that small space. It really is. But
Yeah,
absolutely.
So one thing you gave me at Workbench Con that I'm wearing right now was a Andrews Woodworking T-shirt, but on the back of it is the Teen Woodworkers, a ministry that you started. So tell everybody about that. I'm fascinated that somebody so young is already being purposeful with the skills that God's given us. So tell us about the Teen Woodworker and what you're doing with that.
Yeah, so with the Teen Woodworkers, it's a Instagram page that I started a year ago, back in January. And so I've been running that. And basically what it is I reshare other teen woodworkers posts and stuff like that, but for free. So there's lots of like accounts out there that'll reshare your stuff, but they always charge money. And being a younger person, teen especially, we don't have that much money, especially if we're trying to invest it into our own business. So I basically started that. I knew like 3 other teens on Instagram. And so I just started resharing their stuff. And then we also started a group chat on Instagram too. And so slowly just resharing people's stuff. And we also did Instagram lives. We've had quite a few people on there. Matt from 731 Woodworks, he's been on there. We had Steve Ramsey, Frank from Frank Builds It, I think, or something like that.
Frank does it.
Yeah, Frank does it. Yeah. And then just a couple other people. And so that's been a lot of fun doing that. I was trying to do that every single week. I burnt out so quickly. Just trying to do that, run the account, and run my own woodworking account. And yeah. And then I also, so on Instagram, I think I had like 6 accounts. And so I have the Teen Woodworkers account. I have my woodworking account, my personal account. I have a photography account. And then I also kind of run the sawmill that I work for. I kind of run that account a bit. And then also the epoxy account. I kind of run that a bit too.
Oh, wow. I don't know how in the world you do it. Instagram drives me crazy. I turned my notifications off. And the reason being was because, and that was why I took a break for a while, because there's part of me that feels like if you're going to be on there and you're going to be posting stuff and your intentionality is to grow your Instagram account or YouTube account, then when people comment, you need to be courteous or they send you a message and respond. But man, it will flat absorb some time. And then what I found was some of those comments are great and some of the messages, like, with you and some of the other people that we have had on. And I've got some people that we have not had on yet that I've just become really good friends. And those people I message back. But then you get people that just start sending you stuff that, all right, this is not making my life better. It's not helping me grow as a Christian, helping me grow as a man. It's just wasting my time. And so I turned all the notifications off. And so if I choose to get on Instagram tomorrow, if you sent me a message 3 days ago, that's when I'm going to see it. I don't see it until I choose to get on and spend a little time, because I felt like I was being a bad steward of my time constantly on there. And so I'm very torn between using Instagram a lot. So I don't know how in the world you manage 6 accounts, man. My hat is off to you.
Yeah, and like recently I've kind of like stepped back a bit too. So when I first started the Teen Woodworkers account, I was sharing 3 posts a day, every day. And so I'd do like one in the morning, one at lunch, and then one at night. That quickly burnt me out. So then I dropped down to 2. That burnt me out. So I dropped down to 1. And then that even burnt me out to where I'll do it every once in a while now. And what I mean by like resharing their stuff is not just like resharing it to my stories. I'll literally, I have an extra app that I'll download each post, reshare it to Instagram, and then have to type up a whole description and all the hashtags and stuff, and then repost it. And so I backed off that quite a bit. And then here recently, within like the last 2 months, I think, on my personal woodworking account, I backed off of that. I was trying to do a post every single day, which I was consistent for like, I think a year actually. I might have missed a couple of days, but I realized I was taking out, like you said, it's taking up a lot of time that I should be spending like in the Word and stuff like that. So I backed off of that quite a bit to where I'm not like, I haven't made a post in like the last couple of days, but I'll like go a week without posting, or maybe share something to my story just because it's really quick. You know, I don't really like to edit and stuff like that. But yeah, I just really backed off of social media quite a bit. And I've had lots of people asking me like, oh, you should do YouTube and stuff like that and like make like full length content. And I'm like, that's just way too much for me at this time because Instagram and stuff is already taking up quite a bit. Trying to add like a full length YouTube video. I don't like editing stuff really too much. And I've tried editing a full-length YouTube video, and I don't know how people do it. It's so overwhelming.
I think it's you've got to make your decision that is like, if you're wanting to do it for money, that is going to be your purpose of it. For me, I want to share the gospel, and so if I'm starting a YouTube channel, but it won't end up being a moneymaker because I'm not going to sell my soul to making just videos for the purpose of making a video to make money. Because I have a living. I make signs for a living, and I enjoy what I do. I have a farm. I have a wife. But I do see like the opportunity through social media of being able to share with somebody that might not hear it somewhere else. Maybe they come on to watch some woodworking. And so mine are going to be woodworking videos. But so I'll kind of give you an overview of my perspective of how I'm going to do it. One of my favorite YouTubers that I call him YouTuber, but Drew Fisher, we had on Fisher Shop. So he's a phenomenal woodworker, but I honestly, like I do watch his videos to learn woodworking skill, but I love his sense of humor. Like if you have to pay attention though and listen, but he weaves in some of the funniest jokes into his videos and they just crack me up. So I do watch it for the woodworking, but I really love his because of his sense of humor. Well, I'm not going to weave in sense of humor. What I'm going to do is weave in a message. And so I'm going to figure out with each project I build a verse that would tie in and be able to weave in a gospel message into the build. Is that going to attract hundreds of thousands of views? No, but I'm not playing for 100,000 YouTube plaque. I'm playing for an audience of one, and that's for God. And so as long as he's approving, that's all that matters. I don't need anybody else's approval, but I believe that somebody, if just one person watches and they're blessed by the message, because the reason I'm back walking as a Christian today and reading my Bible every day is because of a YouTube video. When I was, I lost a bunch of weight and got into shape, and then I started gardening. And a guy up in Washington State that's a Christian. He had a gardening series videos, and he weaved in the gospel message in it. And one of the verses that he put in one, I was just like, oh, wow. And I went and memorized that verse. And that day I started back reading my Bible, and I have not missed a day reading my Bible since. And so I don't know how many subscribers that guy's channel has, but he's doing it for the right reason. That's I basically kind of want to do a woodworking channel that's like that, where here we're going to talk about the project, how I'm doing the project, but while you're watching me show you how to make this mortise and tenon, in Matthew it says, and then weave in a positive message. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things though that you're overlooking is you're putting limitations on our God, man. If he wants to take your YouTube channel and blow it up and make it something crazy, then
No, I'm not putting limitations. God could take it as big as he wants. Yeah. I mean, it could be. What I'm saying is my purpose is not to try and get 100,000 subscribers so I can have a silver plaque on my wall. My goal is not to make $100,000 off it. If he blesses it in that way, fantastic. And that's up to it. I just want to do it that's the purpose that I feel he has laid on my heart. It's not, hey, I want you to quit installing signs for a living and go make YouTube videos for a living. So, whereas, there's certain people that we've had on that, like Matt with 731, he felt like God was calling. And so Matt doesn't talk about his faith, but he wears a shirt. And that shirt is out there putting out a positive message on YouTube, and it has resulted in a good living for him. He makes his full living off YouTube now. But and that's why I like his channel. Like he's got his subtle way of posting it right on his chest. This is what I believe. This is what I stand for. And I ain't backing down from it. And I love that.
But that's awesome.
Well, tell us what you got going on in your shop, Andrew.
So not much. So recently, as Austin was saying last week, we had a tornado, I think it was like 7 tornadoes come through our Northwest Arkansas area. Our house is fine, but we've got like 7 trees down in our backyard. And so I went out and bought myself a chainsaw. I've been wanting one. And so that was a really good excuse to get one. So I've just been cutting up lumber and stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, I've been working on, it's like a wedding piece for a customer. It's going to have like the couple's name and their last name and then the established 2024. It's going to be on walnut and it's going to be laser engraved. And so got that piece working. And then I have another customer who just reached out to me today who's possibly going to want an epoxy serving tray. And then after that, I'm going to be making a coffee table most likely for my uncle's camp, because throughout the rest of the year, they actually ran it out as an Airbnb, and because it has a lake and then also a pond and stuff on it. So I'm going to build them a nice cedar coffee table for that. And then eventually probably do some like nightstands and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. What about you, Will?
Funny enough, I just made a wedding gift with the person's last name in it, established 2024. So I laser engraved it on out of a piece of walnut. So I just did that. It was one of those things my wife and I talked about, like, I don't know, Andrew, you're younger, so you may not have this, but Tom, going to a wedding, is it a family member or is it just a friend, as an acquaintance? How much money do you give them? What do you give them, kind of thing, right? We had that conversation, like we know these people, they go to our church, but we're not like super close with. Do we give them, money? And then I came up with the idea. I was like, you know what? Why don't I make them a nice sign? I'll laser engrave it and stuff. And so that's what I did. I made them a sign. And so I worked on that. Outside of that, I made a second turkey call, and it is so loud that it hurts your ears to use it. So I watched some videos, right? I made one, and it doesn't sound like a turkey. It sounds like a turkey with bronchitis smoking smoking cigarettes. And so I watched some videos and watched how this one guy made turkey call. I was like, oh, that looks a lot different. Let me try that way. And so I made one, and then you put a rubber band around it, and then you can shake it, and it sounds like a gobbler. It's really cool, but it's super loud. And so made that, and I've been going out, we've got 25 acres, and so I'll just go out back and call for turkeys. I don't hunt, but it's just fun. I'm a big nerd. Outside of that, haven't been doing too much. I have been helping my father-in-law. He's building a big, like 40 by 60 pole barn on his property, and he's doing it all himself. And so was over there this weekend helping him do a little bit of that. And so kind of woodworking, I guess. Outside of that, not too much. I did just buy a new Bible. It's not really shop related. It's kind of a sad story, but interesting one nonetheless. We have, or had, I guess, a local bookstore in my town called the Gospel Bookstore. And the owners had owned it for like 40 something years. And the husband, one of those guys that had so much wisdom, and he didn't care what denomination you were. If you wanted to go in there and talk theology or talk life with somebody, he was the guy. He was known in the community for being such a blessing, full of wisdom, knew the Bible like the back of his hand. And so he come down with a pretty bad sickness, and him and his wife decided that they could no longer run the bookstore. And so they are they're liquidating everything off. And they actually had some people from some local churches came out and ran the liquidation sale, and just, everything's 50% off. And so I want to go down and support them. Yeah, I hate the fact that they're closing the doors, and I wish that somebody could have stepped up. But the reality is that his name is Keith. Nobody can do what Keith did. There's no other Keiths, right? He's just he's one of those kind of guys. And so anyways, they had a Bible that I've always wanted, is an ESV study Bible. I'm a Bible nerd. And so when you do research on Bible, like study Bibles, the number one study Bible everybody talks about is the ESV study Bible. They rave about it. And let me just tell you, I bought it, and I've already read a book of the Bible out of it, and let me tell you what, it's got some material in it, man. It is fantastic. And so I got ESV study Bible, unfortunately in those circumstances, but so kind of a cool thing. I just wanted to mention Keith. I'm sure we all have those people in our community and people that we know that are like that, but he's recovering, and they don't think that his health will ever get back to where he could run the bookstore. But man, if you know anybody like that, give them a word of encouragement. If you've got somebody in your life that is has so much wisdom and has always poured out on people, let them know, pray for them. So other than that, I feel like it's just been super busy around here. And my family, my wife and I are not busybodies. We're not the type of people that do things for the sake of doing them. We're homebodies, but we just had one thing after another going on. And so it's just been kind of crazy. Was at my in-laws tonight for a get together, podcast tonight. Tomorrow I've got to jump on the brush hog because Wednesday I got people come over, shoot guns. And then Wednesday night I got worship practice, and then day off Thursday, and then it's just like one thing after another. And so I'm tired. I'm ready to just chill, have a bowl of ice cream and watch some TV or something, But yeah, that's what's been going on here in the Corson household. Tom, how about you? What's going on in the shop?
Man, yeah, I think I had told you this last week. I had one of my brothers in my men's group as an electrician, and came over and helped me add some lighting to the shop. It's been a week and a half, 2 weeks now. But because of work, I had to move all of my tools. And so in order for us to get the ladder in the places to get up and put the lights, and I had been wanting to rearrange some stuff anyway. But because of work, I hadn't had a chance to rearrange everything and put everything back. And on Father's Day, my beautiful wife and daughter, they went out there and washed the car and truck, vacuumed them. And while they were doing that, I got to spend the whole entire afternoon in my shop, and I rearranged all my tools. I've got a new layout. Now I've got to reassemble everything, that like my table saw dust collection, and I've got to change some ports and location of some dust collection. But I really like the new layout. It's actually gives me a little more, I should say it gives me more space. It's the same exact amount of square footage. The area I have in my shop, Andrew, is about 14 by 30. So kind of a long single car garage area. But that's just the space in the back corner of the shop that I get to use for my tools, because we parked the 3 cars up front and everything. But yeah, that's what I did all day yesterday after I got home from church. And well, actually I took a nap after lunch. Then I went out in the shop and but yeah, and then today we went fly fishing. Tomorrow morning I got to get up and leave for Telluride Ski Resort. I'm going out there to work for 2 days installing graphics at Mountain Village. So which, while I really need to be here working, I love going up there. It's absolutely stunningly beautiful out in that area. And so I'm going to take my fly rod with me, and when I get done working, I'll probably, there's some good fly fishing out there. So I'll probably go down and drop it in the water and see if I can get the net wet and catch a few things. But yes, and then when I get back, I've got another bus. So the reality is I'm praying that I get to set everything back up and start cutting and making some dust this weekend. So, yep. Oh, but I do have one thing next week. My wife and I are going to drive down to Arizona and to pick up my wife's mom to bring her back here. And then my daughter and her grandmother are going to go on a little trip up to Oregon to see her cousin and stuff. But while I'm down there, I'm going to Cody's shop, hang out with Cody. Yeah, man. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's going to be kind of cool to go down there and see him making CNC bits in person and all. So that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He just launched a new one, a zero flute bit. I don't know what that means or what that's for, but and I don't understand it either. What the speciality of it is. I think it has to do with chip ejection, but I'm not positive. So I'll find out when I go down there. But I texted him. He said that a zero flute is really good for like plastics and styrofoam. Oh, okay. Okay. Apparently, however it cuts, it's good for doing that kind of stuff. And so very cool. Yeah, he just launched that, but you'll get to make your own bit while you're there. He likes to do that with everybody that comes in. Man, so I'm looking for it. I'm fascinated by all that machinery that he has, you know, whenever he plays his little clips of it, cutting bits and all. So and go hang out with him, maybe take a lunch or something if he's got time. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I worked in a manufacturing facility. It was 250,000 square feet with machinery like that everywhere. And so I've been around it, and, you know, I've been around laser cutters that are the size of your house that can cut 2-inch thick steel. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. Fiber lasers that are just insane. But yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, guys, it's getting late here. Andrew, where can people find you on Instagram? Tell us about your Instagram page, and then also the Teen Woodworkers one. Where can they find you? Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram, sometimes Facebook, but more so Instagram at Andrew B. Woodworking. And then that's my personal woodworking account. And then for the Teen Woodworkers account, you can find it at Teen Woodworkers. And so, yeah, you can find both of those there. One thing really quick on the Teen Woodworkers account, we're at like 60 teens from 9 different countries. Wow. That's awesome. That's cool, man. I love that you're doing that to help And that's what the gospel is all about, man. God wants us to go and serve others. And so you going out and promoting and helping these other teens is just phenomenal, man. You never know the impact that it might have on one of them's life. So good job, young man.
That's awesome. Well, Andrew, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and chatting with us. We love, and Tom, this is one of the only woodworkers who didn't start because they bought a house and didn't have money to build furniture, didn't have money to buy furniture.
That's the first.
Yeah, Andrew, most everybody, they get into woodworking because they ain't got no money and they want furniture for their house. That was my case. That's why I started woodworking. Most of the guys that we have, guys and gals that we have on here, that's why they start woodworking. So it's cool to see that you had $10 burning a hole, you bought a wood burner, and here you are. So that's amazing. I love it.
Definitely paid off that wood burner by now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Very good. Well, until next week, I'm Will from Fly Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.